Welcome to SaaS Leaders Lounge, your trusted source for cutting edge insights into the tech industry, hosted by me, Romone. Today, we're diving into the AI series featuring Ana Robakidze, a trailblazer in AI driven API documentation as the revered founder of Thneo. Anna's leap from the New York Institute of Technology to revolutionizing AI API documentation with AI at Theneo demonstrates a profound impact on the tech landscape. Anna, we're truly privileged to have you with us today. How are you, and where does this podcast find you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm calling right now from Bansko, Bulgaria, but I'm usually all over the place. San Francisco, Georgia, London, but most of the time San Francisco.
Oh, fantastic. I recently had some friends take a surprise trip to Bulgaria for a holiday, but they had great reviews of it. So it's definitely somewhere I've got on my list to go. And thank you so much for joining us today again.
Thank you. Yeah, I highly recommend it for snowboarding. That's what I'm trying right now. So
Oh, brilliant. I'm sure my listeners will pay attention to that as well. So, to dive straight into it, Anna, are you able to share more about the inception story of the Neo and what inspired you to shape the future of API documentation?
yeah, absolutely. So my background is in engineering. So before Theneo, I was head of engineering at Clientele, where I was working on hundreds of different APIs with different vendors, with different integrations, and all these things. And documentation was always one of the most annoying part for me in terms of not only generating myself, but also when I was reading others' documentation, because I saw the impact it had when it came to project delivery for integrations, and all that led to costs. So it was during pandemic, and that process was, I guess, was annoying me so much that I was like, I need to think about a better solution to make my life easier. So Theneo initially was more like a side project for me. And then I was starting to get users. I started to get these random users and random companies that would reach out and ask me if I had enterprise solution. And I was emailing them back saying that, this is not even a company, this is a side project. But thank you so much for your feedback. And then I thought about it, why not make a startup? And I knew about Y Combinator. In the US, Y Combinator is really big with all the amazing portfolio companies from Airbnb, Dropbox, Docker, etc. Amazing companies. So I thought, why not apply there? Even though acceptance is very low, but I thought, why not give it a try, see also what they think. And they gave me a call back saying that you're in, but you gotta quit your job. I quit my job, and then from there, it's all amazing roller coaster. So it's been a great story to also see how AI has been shaping over the last 3 years. Because when I got started out, AI landscape looked so different. API landscape
Yeah.
also looks slightly different as well, but AI landscape, especially in the API world, was almost non-existent. And when we were working on our own model, I remember how different things looked like. Also, I remember, so like just a quick story about our own model. We publicly launched it at TechCrunch Disrupt. I don't know if you have seen TechCrunch Disrupt or the Silicon Valley show where everyone is pitching and it's that exciting environment. So it was very exciting for us to launch our model publicly to everyone at TechCrunch Disrupt. It was an amazing experience. And that was a couple months before ChatGPT was released. So the excitement that we got from the audience was so different. And then versus when the ChatGPT came out, the expectations from users went from here to there. So and it changed. I feel like after ChatGPT was released, so many companies started to come out with different solutions with API landscape as well. People started to talk about AI versus before no one was talking about it in the API landscapes. So
It's
a
true.
lot of interesting stories that I can share about like our journey, but that's a quick story about how we got started and where we are at today.
Fantastic. I think it's been a great 2.5 years for yourself since launching the organization. I know the idea was thought about beforehand, but even congratulations for winning the Web Summit Pitch 2022 as well. I guess that does
Thanks.
aid the growth and development of the idea itself. But in terms of kind of the pioneering features that you've recently unveiled, are you able to enlighten us on these advancements and also their significance in the AI and API documentation realm?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first, I would say that even the earlier days that when we got started, we were talking about initially what are the AI features that we wanted to introduce and why we wanted to introduce it. So, as an engineer myself, like I said, generating documentation, the human readable part was the most complicated for me. Especially like English not being my first language, that was even more annoying. So I wanted to find a way to automate that flow and also have all the content generated for me. So, one of the early features from the AI perspective that we had that generating all the technical documentation or technical content for our users. And then the second thing that when we really revealed AI features was actually integrating with ChatGPT. So one thing is to generate the documentation. The second thing is a lot of times users do not want to go through the entire content and read everything. They want to find quick answers, especially now that we are used to ChatGPT, we are used to Perplexity and other tools. We want to get answers right away, not really have to go through the entire documentation. So we integrated with ChatGPT, where inside the documentation you can ask questions and get responses right away. So that is both from technical perspective. Let's say you are saying, I have a very technical tech stack, and generate for that for this API code for me, or we have seen our users ask questions like act like a product manager and generate a spec for me, or act like a QA and generate all the unit tests for this particular API. So there are a lot of great use cases, but that also shows the different things that you can build in house and different things that you can integrate. Our main goal always is how can we make sure that this process when it comes to API management or API documentation is automated for our users.
Yeah,
But while AI is very important for a feature, or there are a lot of different features within AI that we have, it's not a core offering, meaning that in general, I believe that you have to have this core, this whole product that offers different type of users. For example,
yeah,
one thing is to automatically generate it, but the second is how can you make sure that different players within the organization can collaborate, from product
yeah,
managers to engineers, etc. Engineers work really differently versus how product managers work. Engineers prefer to work it from, let's say, Visual Studio Code, so in their own environment, versus product managers love something like Notion-like tool, right? So we have all these different tools, how they can collaborate and make sure that whenever they make changes to APIs, that is automatically deployed. They can comment, they can collaborate, all these things. And there are elements of it which are more algorithms, so it's not really AI. For example, how we merge different changes within APIs. How do we document? We have this a feature called API changelog that basically
yeah.
documents and writes all the release notes there about your API changes, right? So that is like a lot of that is actually algorithm that we have created versus a very specific language model. So it's the whole offering that we
Mm.
have. It's not just the AI, but AI is just there to aid our users, but it's not the core product, if that makes sense.
That's remarkable, I must say, from the collaboration with ChatGPT all the way from kind of the features, the algorithms you develop, it kind of creates a AI agent to increase the speed and also time of those utilizing your solutions. So I think the enhancements
Absolutely.
illustrate
Yeah.
Thenio's role as a front runner in the industry and kind of continuously redefining the benchmarks for AI and API
Mhm.
documentation. Brilliant. Um, On to my next question. The Neo integrates AI to transform API documentation, as mentioned. Are you able to share a success story that exemplifies this approach?
I would say that with most of our users, in a way, it's a success story of the how they are generating the documentation, right? How
Yeah.
efficiently they're integrating with their own systems. So to talk about how it was before is that they would have an API spec, which is just an API request and responses, that kind of the schema definitions, but there is no any way humanly readable documentation to it. Most of the companies do not have resources for technical writers, especially for internal facing APIs. So if you were talking to a lot of companies, they will tell you for internal APIs, they don't even have a documentation. And what is that the problems that it is causing is that when it comes to engineers, right? Unfortunately, you don't have one engineer always work for you, right? There is they come and go. So
Yeah.
and what happens is that the knowledge is lost. And if you have a question about the API, you need to, and if that person doesn't work anymore, you cannot really find the relevant information. Or even if the person works there, you have to reach out them, you have to get information, etc. So we try to
Mm.
automate that process when it comes to API so that everything is documented. And when you're looking at the documentation, you also have no question, is this up to date? Just because we have this CI/CD pipeline that makes sure that APIs are automatically deployed. So there is no question of, okay, like is this up to date or not? Now, when it comes to public facing documentation, usually for the companies, one of the main goals is the API adoptions. So how fast can third-party developers adopt to their APIs? And in that way, documentations work like a marketing tool. So it's not just, hey, this is my spec, this is how you can make call to APIs, but this is for also non-engineers to understand the values that they can get from your APIs. So how you structure content, how you make sure that all of that from the UI, UX perspective, how all of that works has a huge impact. And that's something that we have allocated a lot of resources to make sure that every element from how you're testing out the API, how you're navigating with menu, how you're going from one section to another, those have the impact of like in the end API adoption. So we have seen
Yeah.
some of the customers that have seen 300% API adoption, increase in API adoption when they have moved to
Wow.
Theneo. And that sometimes for those companies that are selling their API, that means direct increase to their revenue.
Brilliant. No, that's quite impressive. I think continuously learning within the kind of machine itself, it's yeah, from collecting the knowledge is basically what happens. And I think the success story you've mentioned so confidently with everyone, it just vividly showcases Theneo's kind of or how you drive solutions that are pivotal in setting these new standards continuously. An important question now, in the era where AI ethics are paramount, how does Theneo commit to responsible AI practices, particularly concerning transparency or also data ethics, shall we say?
Very, very, very good question. And I would say that very rarely I see that question being asked just in general in different
Yeah.
AI conferences or in different AI meetups. So I'm glad that you're asking this question. And we have our COO, actually, her concentration used to be on AI ethics in just in general. So
Mhm.
she is usually very strict about these things. But having said that, generally for AI companies, how AI ethics looks very different. For example, how it looks for ChatGPT, how it looks for DALI products, how it
Yeah.
looks for other image generation looks very different for Theneo. So for us, when it comes to ethics, something that we look at is transparency of users to know exactly how their data is being used, and also for them to be in control of what they want to turn on or turn off in terms of features. For example, by
Yeah.
default, we do not generate like automatically documentations in terms of the content. You choose when you're creating a project if you want us to generate it. Also, there is an option for the ChatGPT integration as well. That's not something that is default enabled. That's
Mm.
something that you go in and activate it. The reason why we decided to do it is because not all the companies will want to have their data sent to OpenAI, right? When it comes to ChatGPT integration. So that's
Yeah.
why we give our users full control of their data as well. So they can decide and be in control of like what data is exposed, etc. When it comes to also with how some of these things work. There is some information that unfortunately we cannot share to all of our users,
Sure.
just because then it would show how some of our things work, and it will not be great for in terms of competitive edge and all these things.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to share that, but we are conscious about like what information will end up to our competitors. With some of the enterprise clients, we sign NDA and we tell them exactly how some of these things work, so they're fully aware. We are working on also putting together publicly our policies so that also our users are aware of what policies we have inside the company and how their data is handled, which I think is very important when it comes to when you are training the models, etc., for the users to exactly know how their data is being used. So that's how in Theneo we are looking at AI ethics in general.
Fantastic. That's definitely reassuring to know. I think as we mentioned, responsible AI practices, it directly links to transparency and also directly links to being aware and also being in full control. So you definitely
Exactly.
even been able to have any NDAs written for your enterprise clients. I guess it's definitely underlining kind of your commitment to ethical AI practices, underscoring the integrity for Theneo. Um, I know we've mentioned kind of continuous learning effect that your platform has, but with this fast-paced evolution of AI, what strategic steps has Theneo taken to actually stay further ahead of the industry?
Great question. So, like I mentioned before, when we got started, no one was talking about in the API landscape about AI.
Yeah.
And so even when we were initially talking to our users, it was really interesting the feedback that we were getting. They were saying, it sounds interesting, but would I pay for it? Probably not. Meaning, like,
Mm.
that would not be their core reason why they would pay for the product, for the AI features. Now, the dynamic has changed so much that we are seeing so many enterprise clients that are coming to us specifically for AI features because they are seeing that impact AI or different automations have on their stuff, or how much
Yeah.
work we are automating and how much time we are saving, which directly means that we are saving money for the company, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think like we even seen like was it Klarna recently that did the whole AI chatbot etc. and they have replaced I don't remember what was the numbers, but we have seen a lot of companies now being more interested of how they can automate their workflow.
Yeah.
So and having said that, because companies are interested, that means that also um, our competitors are interested in integrating AI into their solution.
Yeah.
When we were working on our model, one of our biggest advantages was that it's really hard to set up your infrastructure, hire people in this industry, etc. So we were ahead. And when ChatGPT came out, that meant that everyone now could use their API, make the API calls, and basically have some of these features. So that means that while I feel like in terms of the AI competitive landscape, just because ChatGPT and other players now gave other companies more ability to create similar products, that means that
Yeah.
us as a company, we always have to concentrate and see what are the other values outside of AI that you can bring to users. Because it's not, you don't want to be kind of the wrapper around like different, even ChatGPT or some other products. You want to make sure that you're delivering that core value. So the way we are looking at Theneo all the time is we're listening to our users and we are looking at what are the products, what are the things that we need to add. So from our perspective is there is still so much that needs to be automated in the API landscape, from API design, API governance, and mock servers and all these things. So we always want to make sure that it doesn't matter if it's with AI or with our own algorithm. We don't care what it is called, as long as we are automating that workflow for our customers. And that's always kind of, to summarize it, we try to now remove the noise as much as possible and concentrate on our users and build a product that people actually love.
Brilliant. I think listening is definitely an intriguing strategy. It's clear, kind of a forward-looking approach will demonstrate commitment to innovation continuously going forward. So yeah, thank you very much for that answer there. It's definitely inspiring. If you could tackle, or if you could have AI tackle any light-hearted or unexpected challenge within your field, what would that be?
Uh, hmm. I I was thinking about this the other day, which is not that I have a solution just yet, but I was thinking about it that um, now that we have Apple set and other AR and VR headsets, I was thinking about it how the experiences of reading a documentation, especially API documentation, is going to look like in the future. Because I don't think we're going to have kind of just what we currently have today, which is designed for a regular desktop web environment. So I was thinking that probably we are going to have this interactive storytelling of APIs, which I'm not sure how that is going to look like just yet. But I feel like it's going to be more dynamic, more storytelling of APIs. So I'm excited to see how that's going to look like in the future.
I think that's a fun perspective. You see in a lot of futuristic films, someone in the lab or something would have on those goggles and he's just moving things about, linking, making the connection. So yeah, I definitely see it would be
Yeah.
a fun solution to push the boundaries within the future to have that apparent in everyone's role. But now to move on to more of a light-hearted, quick-fire section, it would be great to learn more about yourself beyond your personal achievements. So, are you ready for our rapid fire section?
Yes.
Brilliant. So, are you more of a early bird or a night owl? Me too. Do you prefer cardio or weights?
Wait.
Me too as well. Are you into more art or science?
Science.
Brilliant. Comedy or drama?
Ooh. Comedy?
That's a definitely an arguable one, but yeah, I love the answer the same way as I'm probably on the comedy side as well. History or future?
Future.
Brilliant. Mountains or beach?
Ooh, both.
Yeah, I guess it's depends on the weather or the group you're with as well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And last two questions: solo travel or group trips?
I've been doing a lot of solo trips just because of the conference and stuff, so I would not mind right now group travel. So I would say group travel right now.
Brilliant. I'm sure your friends and everyone would like the answer as well. And last question, I'm not sure if you have a preference for either, if you like either, but pasta or pizza?
Pasta or pizza?
Yeah.
Huh. Very difficult question as well. Pizza. I think pizza.
Brilliant. Just a bonus on that. Are you into pineapples on pizza or is that a no-go?
Oh no 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 no. No
Me
pineapples.
too. Me too. Well, that was fun, I must say. Definitely interesting to learn more about your choices in life. But we like to keep a collaborative nature on the SaaS Leaders Lounge podcast. So we always have our previous guests ask a question for the next, and you'll also have the opportunity to ask questions to our following. So previously we had a lady called Beatrice Lafon. She's the founding member and also the leadership council of AI organization called Casual Lens. Her question to yourself is there anything you would do differently based on what you've learned so far?
Very very good question indeed. And I mean, the journey has been, like I said, like a roller coaster, and definitely there are a lot of things I've learned. But something that I wish I learned earlier is that isolating noise, and that can be both from competitors, it can be from investors, it can be from any other sources as well, and concentrating on users. Users are the ones that know exactly about your product, they know what they want, and I would listen to that more than anything that is going on in the industry.
I agree with yourself. That's a perfect answer for that one, I must say. When you talk to some of the greatest, they always say you only know what's going on in your company from your customers as well, and kind of the innovations that need to be made. So yeah, I'd say that's top of my list as well in how we run James Simpson. The next guest we have on the SaaS Leaders Lounge podcast is a lady called Angie Ma. She's the co-founder of an organization called Faculty. They basically build and deploy safe AI systems to combine with the best human and AI to ultimately help customers achieve exceptional performance. What would your question be for Angie on our next podcast?
Um, she has such an interesting profile. So I would say the question that I have for her is that now that AI is going into so many different industries, what can companies or startups, what strategies they can use to make sure that those AIs are developed responsibly?
Perfect answer. I think it links back into the ethics, which is very important for the future. And please do tune
Yeah.
in to the next episode for to hear Angie's answer. And I'll be sure to connect you both if it's something you want to know more about, as I know it could be very relative to the future of Theneo as well. But thank you so much, Anna, for the enlightening conversation today and also sharing your journey and insights with us. Um, are you able to share where our audience can find more about your innovative work at Theneo?
Absolutely. So feel free to first follow us on LinkedIn. You can find me as Ana Robakidze or search for Ana Theneo. You will find it. And we have a lot of exciting new products that are coming up right now. We are working on, as you know, about API documentation and automating that flow. But end of this year, we're also going to have other exciting products where we are going to be tackling and automating API design, API governance, and a few other API management products. So feel free to follow me on LinkedIn or the company to see all the exciting updates.
Truly amazing, I must say. I'm also going to keep following as well to kind of see those updates happen. And I'll also be sure to share that on my LinkedIn page to all the or listeners of this podcast. Everything you've mentioned, I'll be sure to put in the About Us section on Spotify, Apple, and also YouTube. So, yeah, to our listeners, we hope you found this episode as inspiring as we did. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated and for our AI series to hear more visionaries like Anna. Keep exploring the frontiers of technology and leadership in the SaaS world. Farewell for now. Thank you so much again for your time. Take care, Anna.
Thank you.
Thanks.